our another episodes of Treasures of the Past and Experiences of the Present. It is real joy and honor for me to introduce someone who has not only shaped the understanding of mission and interculturality of many people, but also who has deeply impacted many lives of missionaries, students, and members of our community. Today, we are privileged to have Father Roger Schroeder, one of our SVD professors, one of our SVD theologians and missiologists. Father Roger, welcome to our conversations. And if you don't mind, can you briefly share us something about your missionary journey and also how interculturality became a key focus of your ministry?
Okay, so for me to begin, I have to go back to when I was young. I was 12 years old. In 12 years old, I did a retreat for altar servers, and I heard a Papua New Guinea priest, Father Ross, Willie Ross from Papua New Guinea. He gave a talk when I was 12 years old. And when he talked, he then talked about Papua New Guinea. So I said, oh, that's what I want to do. I was in 7th grade at the time. Wow. So the following year, I started minor seminary, and I always had interest in Papua New Guinea and being a missionary. So throughout all my formation, minor seminary, novitiate, college, I always wanted to do that. Then when I was finishing my first year of theology in Chicago, we started the Overseas Training Program, the OTP.
Yes.
I was in the first class to go from Chicago. So they said, where do you want to go? I said, Papua New Guinea. So in that, I always had a lot of interest in anthropology and being a missionary in that. So that's when I began my interest in other cultures and wanting to say, how does culture and mission go together? So then I continued. I had 2 years of OTP in Papua New Guinea, finished my theology, back to Papua New Guinea again, and then I just started my studies in missiology at the Gregorian University. And my thesis was on male initiation rituals in Papua New Guinea.
Oh, wow.
So that got me studying a lot about anthropology. So I started doing that, but missiology as well. So I had a lot of interest in other cultures for a long time. Also, in the middle of that, I also studied linguistics. I worked with some Protestants who taught me how to learn a language that are not written. How do you learn languages by ear? Because in Papua New Guinea, you have over 700 languages.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so in a single parish, I could have different languages. So I studied linguistics and culture, mission. For me, it was always come together. So then, as the years go on, I'm skipping some years now because I have too many years to talk about. So later on then, in 2012, we had our general chapter on interculturality. I was on the pre-chapter preparation starting in 2010. So that's when I began more study of interculturality at that time. So then I began that. And then after the chapter of 2012, there was a group of us in Canada for a conference. And a month after the general chapter, we said, what can we as anthropologists, as members of Anthropos Institute, what can we contribute to the SVD work of interculturality? So that's when we volunteered to the Generalate to be a committee to contribute in terms of culture and mission. And those of us there, most of us were members of the Anthropos Institute, which I'm the coordinator for also, for the International Anthropos Institute International.
Brother Roger, I understand from what you initially shared with us about your background in academic environment. So could you please share with us on how this academic environment shaped your approach to intercultural mission?
So the advantage of being in a school like Catholic Theological Union is two things. One is with the students. So what do I learn from the students? And I work with students who are preparing to work in other cultures, and they come from different cultures. So already in my teaching, I learn from my students. I also have colleagues, colleagues who I teach with at CTU, and also colleagues that I know working in other places as well. So in the academic world, there was a lot of interest in culture and mission, but interculturality in itself was sort of a newer idea that we began developing in that way. So, for example, many of my students are coming from Africa, Haiti, and so we end up talking about post-colonialism. I learn a lot from them. I also have Muslim students sometimes.
Yes.
I have men and women, lay people, priests, religious from around the world. And
Yes.
so the teaching that I do, I learn a lot from my students, and I continue to learn. Even though I'm 73 years old,
Yes.
I continue to learn.
Speaking of this progress development of the interculturality, something that you really develop with the other experts in the field, how do you understand interculturality in relation to Missio Dei?
First of all, again, I'm a teacher, so I'll start out with the definition. Okay? So, interculturality, as I understand it and teach it, is how to build relationships, mutual relationships between people that are another, different than ourselves. And how does those relationships be both mutually enriching and challenging with people in that way? Now, how does that relate to Missio Dei?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the way Missio Dei, if I go to Agentes, paragraph 2, it talks about the mission of God. It's the mission of God is like a life-giving fountain being poured out into all of creation and all cultures and drawing everybody back to God and all creation back to God. So interculturality is how do we understand how God is active and present from the beginning of time with other cultures amongst people's lives, and how that is drawing people. So interculturality is very important because God's vision is that all peoples would be drawn together, the image of the banquet from the scriptures,
Yes.
that all peoples get. So interculturality is to understand other cultures within our heart. How do we need to deal with our own prejudices, our prejudgments, our biases, in order to open ourselves up to be enriched and challenged by the other. The Missio Dei is that action of from God back to God. In order to do that properly, we need to understand other cultures
Yes.
and to learn from them, learn how God is already present with them in that way, and then in that process, how do we draw people together? Now that's the vision. It's a big vision. The other way to talk about that vision is the reign of God. The reign of God, of bringing peoples together in that way.
Father Roger, how would you describe the challenges in terms of really living out or carrying out the objective of interculturality?
There are many challenges. The one word you mentioned briefly was power. So when I began the work of interculturality, I work a lot with the SSPS sisters and SVDs. We do a lot of that together. When I began working on interculturality, and I was working with Adriana Mamanda from Argentina, and what she made explained to me, she says, for those of you in North America, you talk about interculturality from certain dynamics in terms of culture and things like that. But she said, in Latin America, we talk about interculturality, we talk about power dynamics. You know, there are power dynamics in any differences of people of different backgrounds. I knew that, but she made it clear that I think Latin Americans have a very keen sense and a gift to offer to us to say the importance of social analysis and how do you understand that. So in that is power dynamics, And that's a very key dynamic. That's a big challenge to overcome. And then with that also comes our prejudices. Because when we grow up in a certain culture, we're taught that that culture is the best way to be. But then what happens is if you use your culture, I'm taking my glasses, as the lens to understand others and then to judge others, that's a big challenge. And it's natural. We're taught when we grow up as children to stay with your own kind. But then as you grow, as missionaries, we go beyond our own kind.
Yes.
And to be enriched and challenged by other people. And this is what's a big challenge, to overcome that. And we have these challenges in that. Just last week, I was part of a team leading a workshop on power and race. Race and power for our students at CTU.
Oh, wow.
And so we got talking about racism, of course. And racism is not just in the United States.
Yes,
It applies around the world.
Yes.
And then I also talk particularly about power. And that there's always power dynamics between teacher and students, between, who gives the grades, things like that. So there is those power, but how do you identify them and then not allow that power to promote or designate sort of inferiority complexes on other people. People are always treated with respect in any relationships.
Father, if I understand it correctly, so power dynamics plays an important role in intercultural living.
Right.
There's nothing wrong about power dynamics. The problem would comes in is when we misuse this power that each person has.
Right.
Correct? So now, if in our missionary efforts, we try our best to really carry out or live out the true meaning, the authentic meaning of interculturality. I'm sure, like what you said, it's not easy, but in the situation that we have right now in our context, is there a missionary effort or lesson that we learn from the past that could help us to say, okay, with this problem that we're facing in terms of interculturality, for example, the abuse of power, we learn from the past that this is the lesson and this is how we can apply that past lesson to the present. Can you share us something about that?
Okay, so I think we need to learn how do we respectfully engage with people in a respectful way. God is present with them. We don't treat people as objects, but God's Spirit is also working with them. So you mentioned before the work we've been doing. I've been involved in with going to the Native Americans in South Dakota with the Lakota people. And I've been doing that for 34 years, taking students. And I'd like to use the wisdom of one of the Lakota women, Violet Goodvoice. And she's a amazing, to me, she's a living saint. She's a grandmother. She worked for the church. And when we go to her house, very simple. She lives in very simple situations, very poor, economically poor, but spiritually rich. And often I ask her to talk about, because she worked with the Jesuit missionaries there for many years. And she has an image that she uses. She says, when you go to another culture, you go with half of a cup.
Yeah.
If you have a full cup, it's like, she said, I know missionaries that came with a full cup. They did not have any space to receive anything from the people. But she says, when you come to another people, come with a half cup. You have something you bring. You got something in your cup. It's not completely empty that you have from your own experience of God, your own background and that, but come with that. And I know many students, it's a simple image, but I think that's very key. So when we go, we have something we bring. We have our studies, we have our background, our experience of God, and our mission commitment. But as we do that, then how do we receive from the God's Spirit within the people?
Aside from this power dynamics or conflicts in terms of dealing with power dynamics, is there other challenges you see that we are facing nowadays, especially with the young missionaries?
There are many different challenges. Let me just lift up something that I think is very pertinent today, and that is the use of social media and phones and things like that. So what I hear, not just from SVD and SSPS, is that what happens is when people go to other cultures, they end up still staying detached mentally with their family and their own culture. So they don't really enter into the culture of the people that they're with. They end up hanging on to their phones, and God bless phones and that. Now with Zoom and other things, we can stay connected with people. That's all very good. However, what I hear from many missionaries is that often people are so much caught up with their phones and staying in touch with family that they don't really enter fully into the culture of the other people. And this is a huge challenge. And I hear this over and over again. I could tell you many stories. And it's that is a big challenge of, how do we continue to really connect? So it is important that we stay connected with our own family and that's important. However, as missionaries, we enter the world of the other. So in a way, it's like you have a foot in both worlds. But if your foot is still so strongly through social media and things like that, I'm not against social media. Social media is very good. But the big disadvantage that I hear over and over again is that people will stay too much into their own world. So we need to move back to the world of the other, to really enter. As Pope Francis talks about the smell of the sheep, to really be with people in that way. And that's a big thing. Another big challenge is cliques. That when people go to other cultures, if they stay too much with people of their own nationality, my own group, and to the disadvantage of, again, not entering the world of the other, I've seen that too. That's also a big challenge. And it's a balance. How do I keep my foot in one world of my family, my culture, and things like that? And I know it's very important for Filipinos. It's very important. And how do I do that? And then also enter the world of the other.
I think you mentioned at least 3 important points now. One is about how we get engaged into this play of power dynamics.
Right.
and also the role of the social media in terms of building relationships. The third one you mentioned, how every culture values relationships. As a theologian, as a missiologist, as a missionary, as a human being who's been doing lots of work in interculturality, what is your vision for the future of interculturality in our society as an SVD and also in the wider church mission?
Yeah.
What do you think is the future of interculturality?
Well, to me, and I'm going to be rather bold in this, I think if we don't really practice real interculturality and mutual enrichment, our future is dim. The future of our society is in terms of interculturality. Tony Gittins, a colleague that you may know who died several years ago,
professor.
he stated this very strongly. We must be able to work together out of real respect with each other, how we work ad intra, in the different ways, both in our formation, in our community life, our leadership, all that like that. So to me, this is what it has to be a part. And our constitutions talk about we as community of brothers of different nations, how do we witness? Our community life alone is already a witness to that interculturality. But that's on the surface. Interculturality is the quality of the relationships. It's the quality of those relationships of deep respect. This is how do you really engage in the depths of who we really are and share our own experiences of how God is working in our lives and that way. That's my hope for the future.
Thank you once again, Father Roger, for being with us here today. And we wish you well, and our prayers are always with you as you continue this mission. We look forward for more conversation with you, and I hope you will never get tired, and always remember that we are here, the community, here to support you. We thank you all for joining us, for being with us, and I hope, like in our previous episodes, you learned something from our conversation. And please share what we learned from this conversation, and let's carry out the true meaning or the true essence of interculturality, because interculturality is an important part of our mission together as a church.